alright, alright.
Kind of just getting to know you a little more. Like, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So I was born in London, and I moved to New York when I was young, like 7. And then I moved here for school. So I kind of move around a lot, but it's fun. I definitely say I grew up in New York.
So, like, where in New York did you grow up?
We moved around a lot. It was always in Manhattan. I say Hell's Kitchen because that was my most recent and probably the place I like the most, but all around.
How'd you say, like, growing up in New York, like, kind of, like, shaped you as a person? 'Cause I feel like that's a really, like, distinct place to be from.
Yeah, it was fun. Like, so fun. It was, I can't drive still, which sucks. Like, I feel like I should learn to drive. But I was really independent at an early age. Like, I took the train super young. Was, like, working pretty young. I don't know, people grow up kind of fast in New York, I would say. But there's so much there. Like, I was friends with all different kinds of people, and I was able to do pretty much anything.
I guess, like, when it comes to music, like, when did you realize that you wanted to be a singer and a songwriter?
Yeah. It was always, like, a secret passion, I feel like. Like, I would always, like, watch American Idol when I was little and be like, oh, that's so sick, I want to do that. Like, what if I auditioned and, like, didn't tell my parents? I was, like, 9 years old. But I, like, never really had time to do it. So it wasn't until I got to college and, like, probably my second year, I was like, this is really cool. And then once I started doing it more, I was like, I need to do this.
What were some of your, like, early, like, music inspirations? Like, what did you grow up listening to? And then, like, later on, like, what have you, like, gotten into later on?
Yeah. My parents' music, probably, like, as everyone grew up on. So my mom was listening to a lot of, like, folky, like, Fleetwood Mac, Elton John. My dad was, like, classic rock, but then also tons of jazz. Like, I listened to like, classical music, too. I listened to, like, all kinds of music, honestly, growing up. My parents were, like, all over the place. But then, like, late high school, I kind of got into, like, Frank Ocean and Lauryn Hill, and I was always a fan of Amy Winehouse. But I went through tons of phases. Like, I liked country for a bit. I liked, like, I was really into rap, like, end of high school, and I don't know. Like, I just really explored myself with music.
Like, as far as other mediums of art, like, would you say you draw inspiration from those as well, like visual art?
Yeah, I was obsessed with Dale Chicouli as a kid. He's like, he does all the huge glass sculptures, and I was like, I want to be a glass blower. Like, I thought that was the sickest thing ever. They had, in London, there was, like, in the Victoria Albert Museum, there's this huge Dale Chicouli when you walk in, and it's like, I remember that as a kid, even though I was, like, so young. But I, like, made my mom get me a book about Chicouli when I was, like, I don't know, I was obsessed with him. But yeah, I got into ceramics, like, in high school, which was, like, a huge outlet for me, and when I moved to Chicago, I didn't really have that, so I picked up guitar more seriously so I could occupy myself.
Nice. You also, like, were a collegiate, like, fencer, too.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that? Like, how did you get into, like, fencing?
It was 14 years of my life. I started when I was 7. I really liked it. I mean, at first it was just like, cool, sword fighting is sick. Like, it still is, like, sword fighting is sick. But, started as a kid, it got, like, more serious, started to, like, win locals, and then I went regional, and then national, and then I was, like, by middle school, I was like, I want to be recruited for fencing. And I, like, want to fence D1, and that was the goal. And I did that, and that's why I moved to Chicago, so I could fence Northwestern. And a lot of injuries, a lot of, like, illnesses. It's, like, really hard. And at that time, I was, like, starting to explore music more. So it was just, like, this constant, like, back and forth of, like, studio practice, so tired, sleep through classes. not a vibe. So I ended up leaving fencing end of my senior year. Like, I could have waited 2 more months, but then also it was January 2020. So glad I left then, because those 2 months were, like, insanely important, and then the pandemic hit. So good timing.
Was it, like, hard for you to, like, make that leap and just, like, go, like, full into music and, like, leave the, like, fencing thing behind, having done it for so long?
Leaving fencing was definitely a hard choice, but it was really gradual. Like, it just started, like, freshman year, I was a starter, and then I, like, dislocated my shoulder at one point. I tore my labrum, so I was out like a whole season. I like had tonsillitis, which is like kind of relevant to fencing just because like we were training so hard and I just like couldn't recover. And I had to get my tonsils out, and once I did, I like remembered how much I liked singing, because I like couldn't sing for a year. So it kind of all came together. It was super gradual, and when the decision came, it like felt really right. It was hard, but it was right.
And now, like, kind of getting into music. Last year you contributed vocals on KOTA the Friends album, which was really cool. How did you link up with him on that, and like how did that kind of come together?
Yeah, he's sick. I was interning at 24/7 HH in Chicago, and he came through for an interview, and he was just really cool. I didn't even mention I was like a singer. He just like stayed in touch, and then he saw that I was a singer. A few months later, hit me up for his project. And it was really cool working with him. Like, it was definitely like very early pandemic, so I like wasn't really doing much. So being able to like contribute to his project was so fun and like a really cool experience, and his project is amazing.
Nice. No, that's cool that it happened just kind of organically. Like
Yeah,
that. And
that's how the best things happen, I feel like.
Yeah, would you say that's true of like most of your collaborations, or like working with producers too?
Yeah, collaborating, that's why like COVID was kind of hard, because before it was like really in Chicago, like I'd meet people at shows, I'd meet people like at events or like through mutual friends, and I was like very much in this circle, and I wasn't really looking at people outside because I didn't want to like deal with virtual or like travel or anything. So yeah, it was all organic, and now it's like a little more, not forced, but just a different kind of organic. It's not like in-person organic.
For sure. Is there, I'm curious, like, your, like, kind of mentality that you had when you were in fencing and then, like, now doing music, like, does that, in a way, like, translate to how you approach music?
Yeah, fencing and music, very similar mentalities, and also I feel like a lot of, like, really good artists that I see were like really good athletes too growing up. Like I think there's a huge, like in the music industry too, like even on the business side, just like tons of people have that mentality. It's like weird hours. It's like super internally motivated. It's like super passion driven, and there's not a lot of payoff until way down the line. So like I think, yeah, it's like the same. It's like basically the same mentality.
When it comes to like songwriting, like, yeah, what is your songwriting process like? Is it, like, different every time? Do you have, like, a specific way you like to work?
Yeah, I wish I streamlined it more. Like, I wish I did have, like, a perfect method of doing things, but I don't. I just kind of, like, ideally, it's, like, me and a producer, maybe a co-writer, maybe, like, a musician. I don't like to have my sessions too big, though, and just, like, see what comes out of it, no pressure. I love working in people's apartments, which obviously, like, with COVID, it's, like, less accessible. I feel like people want to link up the studios. But yeah, like it just kind of, I don't know. I like the organic. I like just like chilling with friends. I love making music with friends. I think it's like really key for me.
Yeah. And like going into now, like what have you been working on lately? Like, do you have any like projects in the works or any songs coming?
Yeah, I've been taking trips to Minneapolis to work with Lush, who did my last 3 songs. So he has definitely a song or 2 on my next project. I worked with Chuck English. I went to LA to work with him, so we have some songs, which is like amazing. He's an amazing producer. And yeah, so I mean, my next thing will definitely be a project. I'm trying to finish it by the end of next month, and it'll be probably like 5 songs. Cool feature on there. I don't know when this interview is coming out, but
yeah.
I'm super excited. Everyone on that project I like picked and loved, and I'm so excited to have worked with, and like can't believe that this is coming to life because it's been a few months.
Yeah. How would you say the stuff on the project either like takes like a turn from your previous stuff or kind of builds off of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything builds on each other. Like, I don't think anything is like super left field. This is definitely more like upbeat and funky. Not as like depressing maybe as my other stuff. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know. similar, but definitely like new,
Yeah.
I think.
Do you feel like you, as like a artist, too, have like grown since the stuff that you put out already versus the stuff that you've been working on for the music?
Definitely. Like, and the processes were totally different. Just
Okay.
like I was able to be a little more free with it. Hawthorne and About April were like pandemic. So like
Right,
I
yeah.
went over to Carter or V Lush's and like made those off of voice memos, and it was like 2 or 3 days for each of them, maybe like 2 days for each of those.
Mhm.
And we just like had a really like intense sessions for those songs, and this was just like creating and being free and just kind of seeing what happens.
Nice. And yeah, obviously you traveled to like work with different producers, but like the majority of your time you're staying here in Chicago. And so I'm wondering, like, how do you think like being in Chicago has impacted kind of like your music career and also like just starting out as an artist, like, and starting it here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chicago, I feel like I'm a Chicago artist. Like, even though I'm from New York, I definitely feel like I am a Chicago artist because everything that I know about music is here.
Mm.
Like, if I went back to New York or, like, LA now, it's, like, all people that I've met through Chicago. Like, I started making music here for real, and I do feel like Chicago's, like, my creative home for that reason.
How did it feel when Hawthorne landed on Fresh Lines?
That was so cool. I was checking my Spotify for artists, and I had like 80 listeners, and I never had that many at like one time before. So I was like, I don't know what's happening. And Fresh Finds like popped up on my Spotify recommended, and I was like the top song. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that does happen, but that was sick.
This is kind of curveball question. Like, if you weren't doing music, what would you be doing?
I don't know. I straight up don't
Okay.
know. I think that's why I went into music, because it's like I don't even, once I like started really getting into it, I was like, what else is there to do? Like, what was I even doing before with my life? I have no idea. I studied like business, maybe something business related, but I have no clue.
Like, if you had to, you took like money and like logistical things out of the picture.
Yeah. Oh, what would like my other dream?
Yeah, just like.
Oh my god, I'd post up in a cabin and just make bowls all the time. Like ceramic bowls, not weed ones, like like literally like to put your cereal in. Or like teapots. That'd be fire.
Who are some artists that you want to collaborate with in the future?
It's crazy because I feel like so many artists that I've wanted to collaborate with like are happening now, which is like the coolest thing. Like everyone that are like well, actually Black, I would love to have a song with Black. I don't know. I just like let it come, and obviously I've like Jane Khalid would be sick. I'm obsessed with Billie Eilish. But I don't know. I mean, whoever and however that happens, it'll be cool.
Like lately, what music have you been listening to?
I listened to Headband on repeat the last week. I don't know why. Like, this pandemic has given me, like, really hard throwback vibes. Like, I don't know if I've listened to new music much in the last few months to a year. Jasmine Sullivan's album was sick. I listened to that a lot. That was so good.
Where you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I hope this is more. I want this to be my life. Like, I am an artist, but I, like, want this to be everything. Like, hopefully the world is back together also in 5 years. I don't really know what it'll look like, but I want to be playing shows. I want to be on tour. I want to have a place in Chicago still. I don't know. Give back some way to Chicago. Like, it's done so much for me, but I want to be playing shows.
Body